There was a time when phones used to try some really weird stuff, like this or this, before the iPhone made every phone look the same. But of course there's a reason why these phones never took off, and I'm going to go through all of it. Here are major smartphone flops, and it gets weird really fast. Motorola Backflip 2010. Imagine being Motorola in 2010. Touchscreens were in, keyboards were out, and social media was for cool people and not the sole cause of all our pain. So Motorola knew that they could only do one thing: make a phone that flipped backwards. Literally, the keyboard folded onto the back of the phone, giving a heart attack to every new user. It was technically a phone, and it was very confusing. Not only did this setup make texting weird and awkward, but every time you picked up the phone, your fingers were just mashing the keyboard on the back. Very user friendly. On top of that, the software decided that you didn't need a choice in your social platforms. It shoved Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace onto your home screen by default. And while Facebook and Twitter were fair bets, MySpace in 2010 was like betting on blockbuster stock in the age of Netflix. This was Motorola trying to be edgy and social at the same time. But instead of grabbing that cool audience they were hoping for, they created a phone that looked like it was AI generated. Spoiler alert, it didn't flip the market. Microsoft Kin 1 and Kin 2, 2010. Classic Microsoft. They wanted to beat Apple so bad, they launched their own phones, called the Kin phones. The Kin 1 looked like a makeup compact with a keyboard. The Kin 2 was a bit more regular, but still awkward. Microsoft hyped them up as revolutionary social phones, built for the youth. Basically, their idea of a phone that could outcool the iPhone. Except that they delivered a brick with a screen. These phones only update your social feeds every 15 minutes. That might not seem that long, but for a phone touted as the next social media phone, it certainly didn't let its users use social media that often. Imagine trying to live tweet a sports game or press conference. You'd be 15 minutes late to everything. Also, no app store, no games, barely any messaging functionality. Want to install a music app? Too bad. It was so limited that even BlackBerry knew they screwed up. That's got to be a sting to the ego. Even worse, Microsoft tried to backtrack and say, oh, it's not a smartphone, it's a feature phone. Except feature phones don't usually cost hundreds of dollars and promise to revolutionize communication. The Kin series lasted 48 days on shelves until it was thrown in the trash with Microsoft's other failed tech. I'm looking at you, Zune. Motorola Atrix 2, 2011. This one came with a wild idea. What if your phone could turn into a laptop? Enter the Atrix 2 and its lap dock. The idea was, you plug the phone into this laptop shaped shell and bam, you've got a full screen experience. Except the lap dock didn't do anything without the phone, and the phone wasn't all that powerful to begin with. It was kind of like taping your phone to a broken Chromebook and calling it innovation. The lap dock was heavy, expensive, and didn't run real desktop apps. It was just your phone's screen, stretched out so you could see all those terrible pixels. Samsung would try a similar idea years later with DeX, and surprise surprise, it didn't work either. Most users just wanted a good phone. Is that really a hard ask? Sony Xperia Play 2011. Gamers, rejoice. Sony has made a phone just for you, except it's not as powerful, it doesn't have as many games, and still costs a fortune. It ran Android 2.3.7 and didn't support actual PlayStation games. You got buttons that looked like a PSP, but played mobile games that weren't made for buttons. It was like buying a gaming mouse and then using your trackpad on your laptop. Most people ended up using it for emulators, old school Game Boy and N64 games. Poor PlayStation, and even then the experience was clunky. It was thick, heavy, had no 4G, a mediocre screen, and somehow a bad camera from Sony. This is the same company that makes cinema level gear, and the camera on the Xperia Play looked like it was shot through a potato. By 2015, the phone was discontinued, and the gaming phone market didn't really catch on until years later, with phones that actually had decent specs. Xperia Play just played itself. Nokia Lumia 900, 2012. Ah yes, the Lumia 900. I covered it in another video, showing you just how bad this phone is. It showed up at CES 2012 and got crowned Best Smartphone. Everyone was like, whoa, maybe Nokia is finally going to make a comeback. But then it launched and, you guessed it, it flopped hard. The problem? It ran Windows. which is not something you want to hear about your phone in a world where iOS and Android were sprinting miles ahead. Windows Phone had almost no apps. Like, your choices were calculator, maybe a weather app, and a weird third-party YouTube knockoff. The hardware itself, actually solid. The design was slick, the camera was decent, but people don't just buy phones for the body anymore, they buy it for the ecosystem, and Microsoft's ecosystem was basically a deserted island, with Clippy handing out broken apps. The Lumia 900 could have been a hit. It wanted to be a hit, but it was stuck, dragging around the ghost of Microsoft's bad mobile choices. BlackBerry Z10, 2013. By 2013, BlackBerry was in full-blown panic mode. Their iconic keyboards were losing ground to touchscreens, and their user base was jumping ship to iPhones and Galaxies like they were on the Titanic. Enter the Z10, BlackBerry's first serious attempt at a full-touch smartphone with a brand new operating system, BlackBerry 10. The Z10 was sleek, modern-looking, and completely unremarkable. It was like if someone cloned an iPhone but gave it the most forgettable design and functionality in history. BlackBerry 10 had almost no developer support, so the App Store was extremely empty. It didn't do anything better than other phones, and worse yet, it had no standout feature to help claw back market share. Turns out you need more than just an iPhone ripoff to take back the market. In a last-ditch PR move, BlackBerry named Alicia Keys their global creative director, which sounded cool until she got caught tweeting from an iPhone. Even their top executives couldn't be bothered to use their phone. The phone that was supposed to save BlackBerry did absolutely nothing to change their trajectory. The Z10 was basically a flat line on the company's already shaky pulse. HTC First, 2013. Imagine a phone designed entirely around Facebook, and no, it's not a giant F, although that would have been pretty rad. Welcome to the HTC First, aka the Facebook phone. This was Facebook's attempt to go from website to phone manufacturer, without really becoming a manufacturer. They partnered with HTC and slapped a skin called Facebook Home onto a bland Android device. This skin transformed your phone into a Facebook feed. The home screen, Facebook. The launcher, Facebook. Lock screen, more Facebook. You couldn't escape the blue and white abyss. Even the camera felt like it was there just to snap more selfies for your timeline. Turns out nobody wanted Facebook in their face 24/7. The phone flopped so hard it went from $99 to 99 cents in a matter of weeks. Facebook quickly noped out of the hardware business, and the HTC First became a collector's item for people who wanted to own a physical reminder of poor decisions. Amazon Fire Phone, 2014. Turns out brands trying to make phones is weirdly common. Amazon must not have seen the HTC First, because I can bet you that Amazon was thinking, we conquered e-commerce, let's do phones. And then they gave us a phone whose entire purpose was to make you buy more stuff from Amazon. It came with Fire OS, which meant you were cut off from the Google Play Store. The UI felt like someone had Amazon Prime injected directly into their veins. There was a 3D-ish feature using 4 front-facing cameras to track your head movement, not for gaming or productivity, but to tilt and shift product images while you shopped. Super helpful. Email support was bad, performance was underwhelming, and no one, not even die-hard Amazon fans, wanted to ditch Android or iOS for something that couldn't even handle Gmail properly. The Fire Phone flamed out in less than a year, proving that just because you can sell batteries and dog food doesn't mean you should sell phones. Samsung Galaxy Note 7, 2016. The Note 7 will go down in history as the first phone to get banned from airplanes for being, well, a potential fire hazard. On paper, this phone was fantastic. Top tier display, great stylus features, powerful specs, but all that went up in literal flames because of a critical battery flaw. Phones started exploding, not figuratively, literally. News outlets ran with headlines like Samsung phones are blowing up, which, in any other context, would be a good thing, but not this time. Samsung issued a recall, then a second recall, and eventually had to disable charging via a software update to force people to return them. Despite its short life, the Note 7 was actually a good phone wrapped around a catastrophic battery. Samsung recovered in future generations, but the Note 7 remains the only phone in modern history that came with a built-in fireworks show. Essential Pitch 1, 2017. Okay, this one came with a whole lot of baggage. The Essential phone, officially the pitch one, was supposed to be a revolution. It was built by Andy Rubin, the co-creator of Android, who left Google under some very shady circumstances involving misconduct. But hey, nothing like trying to build a startup when your reputation is already on fire. The Essential phone had a gorgeous design. Edge-to-edge screen, ceramic back, titanium frame. This thing looked premium, but that's about where the praise ends. The camera, hot garbage. The software, buggy. Updates were slow, the touchscreen had issues, and oh yeah, massive customer data leak. Like, people were getting sent entire email lists. Not great. Despite all the hype, it sold fewer than 150,000 units total. That's not a phone launch. That's just sad. Essential shut down in 2020 and left behind a legacy of what could have been. Turns out, name recognition and venture capital can't save a phone that barely works. Red Hydrogen won 2018. Red, the camera company that makes gear for Hollywood films, decided to make a phone. Sounds cool, right? Enter the Hydrogen 1, a $1,300, expensive at the time I swear, beast that promised a glasses-free 3D display and pro-level camera quality. In reality, it was a bulky mess that did neither well. The 3D screen was a gimmick. It worked about as well as one of those old lenticular postcards where the picture changes as you tilt it, except more nausea-inducing. It also added zero value for actual use. The camera, which you'd expect to be a Red strength, was just okay. Not terrible, not amazing, just fine, and for $1,300, fine doesn't cut it. It was also insanely heavy, fragile, and relied on promised modular accessories that never really came. People dropped it once and ended up with a $1,300 paperweight. Red pulled the plug a year later, and the Hydrogen 1 is now remembered as the only way to get a good forearm workout while scrolling Instagram. Google Project Ara. This was Google going full sci-fi. Modular smartphone where you could swap out parts like Lego bricks. Don't want a camera? Pop it out. Need a better speaker? Slot one in. It was the tech equivalent of a customizable sandwich. And Google thought that they could really make their mark in the phone world with this idea. Sounds amazing, right? It was in theory. But in reality, modular tech is hard to mass produce. The prototypes were clunky, modules were limited, and there were questions about durability. You know, like what happens when your camera module falls out in your bag, or worse. What if you accidentally put in the Twitter module and have to browse it? Oh god. Project Ara went through multiple redesigns and delays before quietly getting cancelled. It lives on only in the dreams of nerds and a few YouTube concept videos. Google basically said, cool idea, but no one wants to build their phone like IKEA furniture. BlackBerry Storm, 2008. Oh boy, the Storm was supposed to be BlackBerry's iPhone killer. Instead, it nearly killed BlackBerry. Its claim to fame? A clickable touchscreen. That's right, the whole screen clicked down like a giant button. Sounds fun until you try typing, and it feels like you're pushing elevator buttons to send a text. It was laggy, unresponsive, had no Wi-Fi support. Come on BlackBerry, you're better than this. And the software was so buggy that about 1 million units were reportedly returned. That's not just a bad quarter, that's a full-on disaster. The Storm was such a train wreck, Verizon reportedly forced BlackBerry to expedite the sequel, just to avoid total fallout. Looking back, it's almost impressive how wrong it went. It's like they studied the iPhone and thought, yes, we can make this so much worse. HTC ThunderBolt 2011. Hyped as the first 4G LTE phone in the US, the HTC ThunderBolt had expectations sky high, but as soon as it hit stores, it became clear this thing wasn't ready for prime time. The LTE network barely existed, so the Thunderbolt was like a Ferrari stuck in traffic. It was heavy, chunky, and had one of the worst battery lives of all time. It would randomly reboot. The software updates were delayed constantly. Owning a Thunderbolt was like living in a perpetual beta test. What was supposed to be HTC's big moment turned into a cautionary tale about over-promising. Nokia N9, 2011. A beautiful phone running an operating system called MeeGo. Ever heard of it? Probably not, and that's kind of the point. MeeGo was a Linux-based OS Nokia built with Intel, and it was already dead before the N9 even launched. The N9 was slick, well built, and had some cool UI concepts, but it came out just as Nokia jumped ship to Windows Phone. So instead of pushing MeeGo and building something new, they sent the N9 to die quietly. It was expensive, incompatible with modern apps, and had almost no future support. It's sad to see a trend of Nokia creating really interesting and deep concepts for phones, only to choose the wrong software. It's like breeding the perfect horse for the races and then betting on the donkey to win it all. Vertu luxury phones. Vertu was a luxury brand that made smartphones for people who thought regular diamonds were too subtle. These phones could cost as much as $50,000. Just think about that. You could buy a pretty damn nice car and someone would spend it on some random ugly phone and came plated in gold, wrapped in alligator skin or encrusted with crystals. The problem? They were regular phones inside. You were paying tens of thousands of dollars for the aesthetic of a Bond villain while still dealing with outdated software, terrible cameras and low-end performance. Vertu tried to sell the idea that phones could be timeless like watches or cars, but phones get obsolete in like 18 months. So spending Rolex money on a phone that gets slower every day is frankly bananas. The phones were flashy but useless, and they are still trying to sell them to this day, but save your money folks. iPhone 6 Plus 2014. Meet Apple's first major design failure. The iPhone 6 Plus looked great, performed great, and bent in your pocket. Bendgate took over the internet. YouTubers were snapping them in half on camera, and Apple had to deal with a serious PR nightmare. The phone was too thin and structurally weak at its centre, meaning just sitting down with it in your back pocket could make it flex. It still sold like crazy because, well, it's Apple, but it was the first real time Apple got called out hard for dropping the ball on hardware durability. To their credit, Apple quietly beefed up the frame in future models, but the damage was done. Literally. I'm just glad they learnt from it and fixed it as soon as possible, and as soon as they sold thousands of phones. Samsung Galaxy Fold 1 2019. Samsung tried to make the future foldable and tripped over it. The first Galaxy Fold was exciting until reviewers started peeling off the screen protector, which turned out to be part of the screen. Oops, the hinge broke. Got in. The display died within days. It was a $2,000 gamble, and for early adopters, it felt like playing Russian roulette with your wallet, and most of them lost. Samsung paused the launch, fixed what they could, and re-released a sturdier version. Today, foldables are much better, but back in 2019, this was less cutting-edge innovation and more very expensive origami fail. Every single one of these phones tried to be the next big thing. Some had bold ideas, others just had bold price tags, but all of them remind us that in tech, ambition doesn't always mean success. Sometimes it just means your phone lights on fire, or bends, or clicks when it shouldn't. But I'm just glad those consumer phones didn't take off. You imagine having a Levi's jean phone, or a Disney phone? If you want to see more tech videos, check out my channel, and don't forget to subscribe.